Hello, dear students. Today we will talk about one of the important topic, that is pollen morphological characters. One of the important topic included under plant embryology, which is uh, which is assigned botany third semester second year syllabus. First of all, we go to what is meant by palynology. In the early, we studied palynology is nothing but studying about the spores and pollen grains. But the palynology term derived from a Greek terminology, palynos, that means to scatter or dust fine particles. We are studying the origin and growth, development, and structure of the pollen grains with respect to different parameters. Hyde and Williams, first time they introduced this term. Pollen grains are considered as male gametophytes or reproductive cells of a flowering plant. Normally, pollen grains consisting of a hard outer wall that is exant, another one inner soft thin wall is intine, which encloses the cytoplasm with its nuclei and cell organelles. The outer layer of the pollen and spores often contains a special compound, that is sporopollenin, which resists degradation by various chemicals, bacteria, and fungi. That's why these pollen grains are available in different resources. Just like you observe, pollens are collected as fossils, and pollens are collected from the honey substance, the pollen collected from different resources also. The palynological features of a spore or a pollen grain can often be used to identify a particular taxon. So the pollen wall is designated to protect the male gamete nucleus from dissociation and irradiation during the transport from the anther to the stigma. Pollen never destroy because due to the presence of the hard substance sporopollenin, and moreover it may not affect by irradiation or dissociation process. The pollen grains are isolated from the sediment matrix via chemical treatments. These isolated pollen grains are mounted onto a glass slide and they are identified and quantified under a microscope. Generally, the light microscopy and scanning electron microscope used to study about the pollen grains. The superficial surface structure uh, observed and studied by scanning electron microscope only. Pollen data provides very valuable information to plant systematics, and as well as this information reveals about the changes in vegetation, climate, and human disturbance of terrestrial ecosystems. So one of the applied branch, palynology, having much more importance in the taxonomy because a number of taxonomical problems are revealed or resolved by the application of palynology in various ways. The information taken from spore structure or spore wall structure or the spore related morphological characters. So that's why palynology is one of the important branch. In this chapter, now we discuss about palynological features used in plant taxonomy. Various parameters which are attributed to the pollen grain, different features or characters are considered for the plant taxonomy. These are pollen unit, pollen size, pollen shape, pollen polarity, pollen aperture, pollen sculpturing, and pollen wall structure or sporoderm structure. You can go through one by one. First, pollen init. So pollen init is nothing but at the time of pollen discharge, how many pollen grains are united together. That is known as pollen unit. Pollen unit refers to the number of pollen grains united together at the time of dehiscence or release. The pollen grains are produced within the anther of the flower. Normally, PMC, pollen mother cells, originate from the sporogenous tissue of the anther, which latter divide meiotically to form 4 pollen grains called as tetrad. Normally, one microspore mother cell, which is in diploid condition, undergo meiotic division. It gives 4 haploid spores. In the initial stage, in the primary stage, these 4 spores are attached together as a unit that is called as tetrad. The callose compound is used for the association of these pollen grains. The pollen grains do not remain united at maturity and are dissociated into single pollen grain or some few pollen grains as. If at the time of maturity the tetrad pollen grains divided and they dissociated into single pollen grain, that is called as monad. Monad means only one single pollen grain at the time of maturity, we can see. In some plant taxa, you can see diodes also. Diodes means 2 pollen grains. 2 pollen grains. 2 pollen grains are see at the time of maturity. So because one of the cell wall very weak or not synthesized properly in between the 2 pollen grains. That's why 2 pollen grains are released at the time of maturity. So these 2 pollen grains are collectively called as diodes. So normally in most of the cases, pollen grains occurs in tetrads only. So tetrads means 4 pollen grains are united to form a tetrad. But these tetrads are the unseparated product of meiosis. Tetrads are the unseparated product of meiosis. Tetrads may be categorized into different types based on their arrangement. How these 4 cells, 4 microspores arranged in the various directions, they are in different types, again classified into different types. Tetrahedral tetrad, see here, tetrahedral, tetragonal, rhomboidal, decussate, and the T-shaped tetrad, linear tetrad, and cryptotetrad or pseudomonad. So these are all the various type of tetrads. But in case of few families like Mimosaceae, the pollen grains are released with many number. That means when the meiosis completed, the 4 pollen grains attached together. Again, these pollen grains are divided once or twice or thrice, like which yielding a group of 8 to 64 cells, which remain together after maturity. So such type of pollen grains are called as polyads. Polyads means nearly 8 to 64 cells are present in the unit. So for example, Acacia auriculiformis, Samania saman, Albizia libac. So these are the Mimosaceae members generally produced, release the pollen grains in many number, that is range is nearly 8 to 64. For example, Acacia nilotica, 16 pollen grains are there. So in this way, pollen grains are released in different species. But in another aspect, one of the important character observed in Orchidaceae and Asclepiadaceae are Apocynaceae members. All pollen grains are which are united and form a mass of pollen called as pollinia. Pollinia is nothing but all pollen grains are clusterly attached and it form a mass of pollen that is called as pollinia. The whole contents of an anther or anther locule which shed as one united mass. So in that mass, number of pollen grains are there. So that is called as pollinia. We can see in Orchidaceae and Asclepiadaceae. So these are the various pictures observed that one. So hibiscus is a single pollen grain, that is monad, and the Nympha fruticans, it is also single pollen grain. If the two pollen grains are attached, that is called dyad. Tetrads are so many types based on the arrangement of the four spores. So tetrahedral, this is the tetrahedral spore. Another one is tetragonal spore. These are the decussate type. So in the upper portion, the two pollen grains are one above another, and the lower portion of the two spores side by side, that is called decussate tetrad. These are called rhomboidal direction. Four directions are there, and the T shape is there. In the below two spores are there, and the above side by side two spores are arranged. It is T shape. Another one is linear, commonly observed in the plants, that is four microspores arranged in a vertical line, that is linear. We already discussed in the Mimosaceae members, these are the compound pollen grains. Compound pollen grains is nothing but is called as the pollen number nearly 8 to 64. So for example, here multiples of 8 fused grains are there in different species. These are called as polyars. And pollinium, these are the polliniums which containing the corpusculum, and translator mechanism is there. So to release the pollen grains, pollinium, Apocynaceae, Asclepiadaceae, Orchidaceae members, you can see by this photograph we can easily understand the pollen in it. Pollen in it is referred as number of pollen grains released at the maturity. The second phenomenological feature, that is pollen size. Pollen size shows a great variety in their sizes. Generally, pollen grains are measured in microns. Normally, the size range is 5 microns to 200 microns. Sometimes above 200 microns also observed in Cucurbitaceae and Nyctaginaceae members. In taking measurements of size, the length of polar axis and equatorial diameter or equatorial axis, and sometimes equatorial breadth are considered in bilateral grains. So based on size of pollen grain, Walker and Dowell classified into various classes. So based on the size, we can classify the pollen into number of classes. So first class is very small grains. Very small grains is nothing but less than 10 microns. Maybe it is 5 or 2 or 3 microns. Spore or minute. So the small grain second class is minute, 10 to 25 micron. And medium sized grains 25 to 50. Large grains is 50 to 100. And very large grains 100 to 200. Very rare gigantic grains, it is greater than 200 microns. So in this way, we can classify the pollen into different classes according to the size. Next, third pollen feature is pollen shape. The shape of the pollen grains varies from species to species, but the shape of the pollen or spores may be circular, elliptical, triangular, rectangular, quadrangular, or any other geometrical shapes. But in one aspect, G. Erdmann categorized 8 shape classes based on the ratio of polar axis and equatorial axis or equatorial diameter. In the equatorial view, the ratio between the polar axis and equatorial axis multiplied by 100 gives the indication of the shape. The shape of the pollen class decided by the measurement of pollen polar axis and equatorial axis, that multiplied with 100, we are getting what type of class. So normally three main classes are there according to the shape. One is oblate, second one is spheroidal, third one is prolate. Oblate, when we considered a pollen grain oblate, when the polar axis is less than the equatorial axis, less than the equatorial axis. So polar axis in the numerator, equatorial axis in the denominator. So when the denominator value increases, automatically the ratio will be having less value. So in the oblate pollen grain, polar axis is less and equatorial axis is more length. And based on that, we can easily calculate that one. The second type is spheroidal, that is nothing but a circular shape. Or in these pollen grains, normally the polar axis and the equatorial axis is same length, So that is spheroidal. But third type of pollen shape, prolate. In the prolate pollen grain, equatorial axis is polar axis is greater than the equatorial axis. So based on that, we can easily classify. In within these three main types, another subclass also there. So based on the ratios. So just you have see here. So A to D. A to D are comes under oblate. E only spheroidal. And F to I total prolate. So in the prolate, we can see this is polar axis. Okay. So this is equatorial axis. In the oblate, equatorial axis is greater than the polar axis. In the prolate, polar axis greater than the equatorial axis. So first we can go through the per oblate less than 50, oblate 50 to 75, suboblate 75 to 88, oblate spheroidal 88 to 99. If the 100 value is nothing but the ratio is 1, polar axis divided by with equatorial diameter or equatorial axis, the value is 1, we are getting 1 into 100. So that's why spheroidal value is 100. If greater than 100, that is comes under prolate. So prolate spheroidal 101 to 140, subprolate 114 to 133, prolate 133 to 200, and perprolate greater than 200. So in this way, the Erdmann in 1952, the pollen shape class determined by the length of the polar axis and equatorial axis by giving a particular ratio. Next, fourth phenological feature is pollen symmetry. Normally, pollen grains or spores are symmetric or maybe asymmetric. The asymmetric pollen grains are without a definite shape. Asymmetric pollen grains are without a definite shape. In this type, unable to identify polar axis or equatorial axis. They are rare in occurrence. Normally, most of the pollen grains are symmetric. But if any asymmetric pollen grain is there, we are unable to find out the polar and the equatorial axis. The symmetric pollen grains are either radially symmetrical or bilateral symmetric. If a symmetric pollen grain shows two type of symmetries, radial symmetry, bilateral symmetry. So in the radial symmetry, isopolar grains have one horizontal and two or more vertical planes of symmetry. If radial symmetrical heteropolar grains have no horizontal plane of symmetry. So these are the two radial symmetry pollen grains, A and B. In case of C and D, it is bilateral symmetry. So bilateral heteropolar pollen grains have two vertical planes of symmetry, but bilateral isopolar grains have three planes of symmetry, one horizontal and two vertical. So based on that, we can conclude the what type of symmetry present in the pollen grain. Next one is pollen polarity, another important pollenological feature, pollen polarity. Polarity is an important parameter to description and identification of pollen grains. So the description of the pollen grain is majorly dependent on polarity, and even identification of pollen grain is also based on polarity. The polarity is determined in tetrad stage, not in the single pollen grain. Four pollen grains are attached together. At this stage only, we can identify the polarity during development before their separation. So in the tetrad condition only, we have to determine the polarity. The part of the pollen grain which is nearest to the center of the tetrad is called as proximal pole. That towards the opposite side is the distal pole. So what is meant by proximal pole? Proximal pole is nothing but the nearest region of the tetrad towards center. For example, these four pollen grains are there. The four pollen grains are uh, nearest to the center. So nearest to the center is nothing but this part. So this part is called as proximal pole. So very nearer to the center. All the pollen grains are nearer to the center. That portion or that space is called as proximal pole. And the that towards the opposite side is the distal pole. So this is the proximal pole. Opposite side is distal pole. So this pollen grain have, this is the distal pole. So in this way, whatever the proximal pole is exactly opposite side, distal pole is there. Distal pole is nothing but it is far away from center, and we can assuming the imaginary line between the proximal and distal pole of the grain is called as polar axis. So what is the imaginary line? This is the imaginary line which is passes through the center of the tetrad. So this is the imaginary line which passes through the center of the spore to the center of the tetrad. So this is known as polar axis. Polar axis. So this is polar axis. This is polar axis. So the plane perpendicular to the polar axis through the middle of the grain is the equatorial plane. So this is the grain, one of the pollen grain. This is the middle one. This is another one. This is the middle one. So this is the third one. This is the middle line. So the plane perpendicular to the polar axis. So perpendicular to the polar axis, which passes through the middle of the grain. So this is known as equatorial axis or equatorial diameter. So EA, PA, polar axis, equatorial axis. So just you can go through here. So this is an imaginary line which through crosses the center of the tetrad and the center of the spore. So this is called proximal pole. This is called as distal pole. So distal pole and proximal pole are exactly opposite sides. So in this way, we can decide the polarity. Based on the polarity of the pollen grains are classified into three types: apolar, heteropolar, isopolar. Apolar is any monad or spore cannot distinguish poles or polar regions is known as apolar. We are unable to distinguish the polarity. We are unable to find out the distal pole and proximal pole in any pollen grain that comes under apolar. So generally, which is observed in the spheroidal and inaperturate condition. In that pollen grain, we can see that is apolar condition. So isopolar means the distal and proximal faces look alike. So same. We are unable to find out the proximal and distal. Both are present but are same. Here we are not distinguished. whether it is proximal pole, whether it is a distal pole, we are unable to find out. But here distal and proximal pole are present, but which are look same. That type of pollen grain is called isopolar. These C and D are called as heteropolar. Heteropolar means in heteropolar grains, two faces are distinctly different, either in shape or ornamentation or aperture system. Example, monoporate, monosulcate. For example, here, see these circular pore-like structures are there. This is nothing but is called apertures. So the aperture present in the proximal pole but absent in the distal pole. In this way, we can easily distinguish polar and equatorial, distal pole and proximal pole. Here, then the distal pole, a single aperture is there. So, but the proximal pole is absent. So, in this way, based on the aperture present or not, ornamentation, and uh, based on the differentiation, you can easily identify the heteropolar polar grains. So, unable to distinguish, cannot distinguish, that is called apolar. Both are same, that is called as isopolar. Both are different, that is called as heteropolar. The fifth one of the pollen apertures are germ pores. This is the fifth phonological feature. In the Greek terminology, treme is nothing but is an opening or aperture. So in the Greek terminology, treme, the treme word indicates that it is an opening or a hole or pore-like structure. So aperture is an opening which are present in one or more thin areas on exine layer. The thin circular areas are present on the exine layer is called as germ pores or pollen apertures. In the place of aperture, no sexine layer, only nexine layer is present. During the germination of pollen grain, intine layer come out or grow out through the germ pore and form pollen tube. So, where exine layer is very thin, in that portion, no sexine layer, only thin nexine layer is present. So that nexine layer which allow the intine layer to outside and grow as a cylindrical or tubular structure, that is known as pollen tube. So go through the type of apertures. So etrimi is indicates that inaperturate or non-aperturate condition. That means pores having no special aperture. There is no aperture on the pollen grain. But in the nature, no pollen grain does not exist without aperture. The no extreme condition exists. That means if any spore without aperture, that seems to be omniaperturate. Omniaperturate means that is the entire pollen wall is made up of thin exine that allow the pollen tube in any surface of the exine layer. So that's why mosses, ferns and gymnosperms and also few angiosperms also without germ pore, but it may not called as inaperturate. It seems to be omniaperturate. Omni means in all surfaces are allow the entry of the come out the pollen tube towards outside. So this is about inaperturate and omniaperturate. There are two type of apertures known as pores, that is known as porous or plural is pori, and the furrows are elongated, that is known as colpus, plural is colpi. There are two type of aperture present in them, known as pores. See here, a small pore-like structure is there. That is one kind of aperture. But the aperture is elongated as a furrow structure. So that is nothing but is called colpus. So if aperture is in circular, that is called porate condition, porate. The aperture is in elongated or furrow shape, that is known as colpus. If it is arranged in the medial line, that is called sulcus. So these are the two type of apertures. It is called porate. This is called as colpus. So this is colpus and porate. Both are present here. See here, small round is there. Colpoporate. So this is called ectoaperture. This is called endoaperture. Endoaperture and ectoaperture both are in different way. One is in circular, another one is elongated. So that type of pollen grain is called colporate. The number of apertures of any shape can be designated by appending the prefix. How many germ pores are present on the exine layer? If it is one aperture is there, monotremy. If containing two, ditremy, tritremy, tetratremy, pentatremy, hexatremy, like that. So based on the number, we have assigned the name mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, and greater than 6 it is poly to the terms colpate and porate. But where it is present, based on the position, germ pore present in the proximal end. For example, this is proximal end, this is distal end. If the germ pore present in the proximal end, that is called as catatreme. What is the catatreme? If the germ pore present in distal end means this side, opposite to proximal. So this is distal end, they are called as anatreme. If two germ pores are present, if they are arranged or present in distal end and proximal end, that type of pollen grain is called anacatatreme. Anacatatreme. Sometimes the pollen grains are arranged on the radial line, that is called zonotreme. In this way, you can call with suffix words treme, catatreme, anacatatreme, anatreme. Based on the number, monotreme, ditreme, tritreme, tetratreme, pentatreme, hexatreme, like that. So one more is that germ pores may be simple or compound. Simple means only one kind of aperture are there. Compound means two apertures are there. Two type of apertures are there. Simple means if it is porate or colpate. For example, this is colpate, which is the germ pore in the form of elongated scar or the furrow, that is colpate. If the germ pore is in circular fashion, that is called porate. But compound pollen grain means the two type of germ pores are there, which is restricted. For example, if we go through here, if germ pores present in sexine and nexine of outer wall, in sexine pore is elongated, that is ectoaperture. What type it is? Colpus. Nexine pore is circular, that is known as endoaperture. What type of it is? Porous. Such type of pollen grains are called as colporate. Colporate means it is a compound pollen grain. In the compound germ pore, we can see two type of apertures. One is colpate, another one is porate. Both are present. One is assigned on sexine layer, another one is assigned on nexine layer. So such type of pollen grain is called colporate. If the round two are similar, which are present in all over the surface, pororate. Pororate means two are circles, two are in circular shape only. Pororate, which is type of pollen grain. So these are called type of apertures and shape, size, number. Also, we can describe the pollen grain. So next, one of the important classification. This type of classification introduced by Edman and Terrell to describe the spores and pollen grains. Such classification is called as NPC classification. N means number, P means position, C means character. The NPC classification play an important role in the description of spores and pollen grains. So under this system, the term tremy used as suffix to describe the aperture. So generally we can use one Greek terminology, trimi. Trimi means used as a suffix to describe the aperture. So we can go for the aperture number N, aperture position P, aperture character C. Number means one or two or many. Position means which are located in distal or proximal or meridian. C means what type of, whether it is circular or elongated. So first we can go for number. Based on the pollen, based on the aperture number, pollen grains are grouped into 9 types. That indicates N0 to N8. N0 to N8. The pollen grain without aperture is named as etrimi, and designated as N0. So for example, here see this N0, there is no aperture. No aperture. That is called inaperturate condition. But it is an omniaperturate, earlier said, no? So that is called etrimi. Etrimi means no aperture found on the exine layer. Next, depending upon the number of apertures, the type of pollen are monotrimy with one aperture, ditrimy with two apertures, tritrimy with three apertures, tetratrimy with four apertures, pentatrimy with five apertures, hexatrimy with six apertures. More than 7, it is called polytrimy, having more than 6 apertures. Based on the number, we can see N1 to N7, that indicates 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like this. So, but the last one is very important. The irregularly arranged spiral apertures over the surface of the pollen grain, irrespective of their number, are designated as anemotrimy. Anemotrimy means the spiral apertures over the surface of pollen, irrespective of their number. So such type of category called with anemotrimy. What is that? Anemotrimy. So whenever you explain about the NPC classification, you must draw this pictorial representation. Next, second criteria, on the basis of position of the aperture, pollen grains are categorized into 7 types or 7 groups that are designated as P0 to P6, P0 to P0 to P6. In catatreme, pollen aperture is proximal phase. So in the catatreme, the aperture located in the proximal pole. So that is catatreme. While in anatreme, that is P3, anatreme, the aperture is located in distal pole, where it is in distal pole. So here distal phase. The pollen grain designated as anacatatreme, that is P2, where apertures are both in proximal and distal. Here see the both proximal and distal, that is called anacatatreme. The pollen grains are referred to as zonotreme. Zonotreme, this is called on the radial line, zonotreme. When the apertures are located on the equatorial, if it is in 2 rows, that is dizonotreme. It is called dizonotreme, is nothing but P5. Zonotreme is P4. So, but with 2 rows of apertures on the equatorial region. In pantotreme, that is P6, apertures are globally distributed all over the pollen surface. They are globally distributed all over the surface. That is called as pantoporate or pantotreme. It is called as pantotreme, dizonotreme, zonotreme, anatreme, anacatatreme, catatreme. So next one is, on the basis of the character of apertures, pollen are categorized into 7 groups in the similar as like as position. Character of aperture is also classified the pollens into 7 groups, C0 to C6. But the character of the aperture is not known, it is designated as C0. If pollen having an aperture like thin area, that is called leptoma, is designated as C1. C1 indicates leptoma, that is an aperture like thin area. Pollen with one leptoma is called monolept. it may called with cataleft, it present the proximal phase. If it is in the distal phase, analect. So leptoma is designated as C1. That leptoma present in the phase, distal phase, that indicates analect. If it is in proximal phase, that is catalect. Pollen with three slit-like colpus are called as, for example, that is C2. This is three slit-like structures are there. Trichotomocolpate, trichotomocolpate, which belongs to C2 category. The remaining character classes as C3, C4, C5, C6 include colpate. Colpate means furrow, a single colpate is there. With pore is called as porate. With pore it is called porate. If it is colporate, colporate means both are present, both with colpus and porus. Both are present, that is called colporate. If aperture with pore, many pores, that is called panthoporate, pororate. Pororate is nothing but aperture with pore and ORE respectively. One above another, pores are there, that is called pororate. So in this way, we can classify the pollen grains based on the number, position, character of apertures. For example, in any entrance examination point of view, a pollen designated by 3-digit code indicates its characters. For example, 345, it indicates tricolporate. 3 means tritrim. 3 apertures are there. 4 means colpoporate. Both are present. 112, trilit. 343, tricolpate. So in this way, any pollen grain belongs to a particular taxa, which indicated with some 3-digit code, which indicates that aperture characteristics. So not only this, the sporoderm structure and sculpturing pattern is also very important in the characteristics of palynology, which contribute a lot of information to the taxonomy. In the next class, we can discuss with sporoderm structure and as well as sculpturing pattern on the exile layer. So thank you, one and all.